Hi, I'm Nick Palmisano, and this is the Bad News Network. Hey, I don't know if you guys have heard about this, but the Mueller report dropped yesterday, and folks, it was a doozy. Finding number one. Starting with the most critical issue, the report found that the president did not collude with Russia. Russia did want Trump to win. The Trump campaign did expect to benefit from Russian intelligence efforts, but the Trump campaign was not directing or planning these efforts. Put another way, they were more like cheerleaders. This doesn't make them good people, but it also thankfully means that the President of the United States was not working with a foreign power in order to help himself with this election. Finding number two. When Attorney General Jeff Sessions let President Trump know that Deputy Attorney General Rosenstein had just appointed Mueller to head this investigation, the president was not happy. His specific quote was, "Oh God, this is terrible. This is the end of my presidency. I'm f***ed." When I saw this portion of the quote reported, I immediately thought, oh man, that does not look good. Admittedly, this line makes him look extremely guilty, and most sources are keying in on that very statement. But I think an important passage that fewer media sources are acknowledging is what happened next. His follow-on sentence was, "Everyone tells me if you get one of these independent counsels, it ruins your presidency. It takes years and years and I won't be able to do anything. This is the worst thing that ever happened to me." In its totality, the statement sounds a lot more like the president was upset that his agenda was about to be stifled, as opposed to any kind of wrongdoing on his part. So that's good at least, but it's definitely not all good. Finding number three. Mueller is pretty sure that the president obstructed justice. He opened this portion of the report by stating clearly that he does not believe that the president is immune to obstruction of justice laws. As such, he believes that if evidence were found, the president should have charges leveled against him. He also believed that the president took sufficient actions and had the intention of undermining the investigation. He listed a host of actions that the president took that pointed in this direction. The firing of James Comey, the request to White House lawyer Don McGahn to have the special counsel removed, and the request to Jeff Sessions to have this investigation limited in scope purely to collusion, just to name a few. Mueller also stated that the president allowing the investigation to continue is absolutely not proof of his innocence, as the only reason the investigation wasn't stopped is because people around him basically refused to follow his orders. Which is why Mueller refusing to offer judgment on the matter is a bit of a mystery. That entire section reads as a thesis towards an obstruction of justice claim, but yet right at the end he pulls back and refuses to offer that assessment. Some experts believe he did so given the Justice Department's stance on presidential indictment, and he thought it best to leave the information to Congress so they could choose to act or not act. But if we've learned anything, it's that Congress doesn't do anything, they just talk about doing something. Far better for Democrats to bitch about Trump leading up to the election than to attempt to impeach him and fail, as they most assuredly would. Finding number four. Mueller believed Comey's version of the truth over President Trump's version of the truth regarding whether or not the president asked that Michael Flynn be let off easy. Comey's statement is corroborated by many other accounts, almost to every exacting detail, while the president's, well, isn't. Finding number five. Mueller believes the president's campaign tried to get the missing Hillary Clinton emails. He does not believe that they openly initiated anything to try to get them, but they did deal with an operative that believed that he had them. They even hired Eric Prince of Blackwater and General Evil fame to determine the authenticity of the emails that were delivered. His assessment was that the emails were not in fact real, and also that eventually he should be Lord of the entire world. We could call it World Lord. World Lord Prince. Prince World Lord. And I could wear a lion hat. So in terms of what this all really means, here's the short version. The president didn't collude with Russia, but chances are pretty good that he did try to obstruct justice out of fear that anything that they found was going to damage his presidency. His campaign was willing to take information about Hillary Clinton from possibly nefarious sources, but did not initiate that action. So none of this really inspires confidence about the administration, but at least it's not as bad as if he was actually working with the Russians. One other tidbit about the investigation. The Russian social media endeavors did support candidate Trump, but they also supported Bernie Sanders. Vladimir Putin explicitly pointed Russian assets towards defeating Hillary Clinton, first in the primary with Bernie Sanders, and then later with President Trump. It must be because Trump and Sanders are the best people. Speaking of Sanders, he is currently on top of the Democratic polls, and he is getting hit from all directions. The other major candidates are moving away from democratic socialism, with even Nancy Pelosi coming out and emphatically stating that the Democratic Party supports capitalism. A Democratic think tank just hit him pretty hard for walking back his criticism of millionaires now that Bernie Sanders is, well, a millionaire. Amazing how that happens. He must have found newfound wisdom, read Plato or something. But my favorite attack has to come from the president himself. President Trump, who has not yet released his own tax returns, is hammering Bernie Sanders for making $1 million in 2016 and 17 and making almost $600,000 in 2018. On Twitter, he challenged Sanders to pay the pre-Trump tax rates on those monies if he really believed in his economic theories. Now, if you're asking, did he really say it just like that? No, he did not. When he said it, it sounded a lot dumber. I'm sure Bernie Sanders will get right on that right about the same time that pigs fly. The president has the ability to feel the human emotion of shame, and socialism actually works. And now let's go to Matt Finney sitting on a couch with some deep thoughts. Truly profound, Matt. We are all better men for having listened to you. Earlier this month, a Japanese F-35 crashed in international waters. This mobilized both Japanese and American search teams to attempt a recovery. Both nations are worried that years of stealth technology are at risk if another country, which we won't name but rhymes with Mina, were to uncover it first. The crash happened on April 9th, but thus far only a wing has been recovered. Perhaps the stealth technology was just too good. In sports news, Tiger Woods has broken his 11-year drought to win the Masters. You know, this story really is the great American moment. It just goes to show you that if you're a really rich guy and the world is your oyster and everyone loves you, but then you kind of throw it all away by sleeping with literally everyone you can find and all your sponsors leave you and no one believes in you anymore, that if you keep playing that golf that you were already good at, you eventually will once again be good at golf and win some golf things. And then people will believe in you again, even though nothing else has really changed. America. In California news, an argument has ensued over Laguna Beach police cars that have American flags on them. The argument against those flags is that they can be seen as demeaning, harassing, and aggressive. In response, Laguna Beach police officers had this to offer.
What country do you think this is?
In Taiwan, a 29-year-old woman named He underwent a surgery to remove 4 bees from her eye. The bees, known as sweat bees, were living off He's tear ducts. The doctor, Hung, managed to remove the bees and save He's eye. Dr. Hung asked He if she knew how close to losing her vision he was. He responded that she did not. "You've done well, Hung. He will be much better off now." A 40-year-old Indiana man is suing his parents after they threw out his porn stash of videos and magazines, which he valued at $29,000. After moving out of his parents' house following a divorce, the man found that 4 boxes of his porn were missing. Amongst the titles that were missing were Frisky Business and Big Bad Grannies. In an email presented in the complaint, the father of the man stated, "We did you a favor." The complaint was filed with the police. However, the Ottawa County prosecutor is not filing charges. The man is seeking triple damages, but it seems like getting this case to trial will be hard. The real question BNN has is, what lucky lass let this winner go? In military news, Captain John Bergman and Captain Michael Rose won this year's Best Ranger competition while representing the 101st Airborne Division. Rose is now the first Ranger to win 3 times. Rose and Bergman also won as teammates in 2014. In the plaque for the alternates news, Captain John Baer and First Lieutenant Terrence Hughes won the Best Sapper competition. Brand new medical technology has brought us all hope for Ned Stark. 32 severed pig heads came partially back to life after scientists gave them a new artificial blood. Starting 4 hours after the animals had flatlined and over the next 6 hours, these pigs' brains became, well, a little less dead, according to Yale researchers. This has been widely praised as a breakthrough in brain science and has also opened up questions about how do we define consciousness. While the brains did not regain consciousness to the level of awareness, they did regain cellular and molecular function. This bodes well for medical progress towards repairing brains that have suffered a variety of different types of damage. It's also a step closer to potential misuse by a mad scientist that brings us the zombie apocalypse. I personally would really enjoy a pig apocalypse. Following up on our report from last week, Gold Star families are now going to receive college benefits. In a shocking twist of events, politicians responded to the fact that everyone in the known universe hated them after their past decision. Governor Cuomo not only approved the measure, but says he has made it his top priority. He announced Wednesday that, effective immediately, New York will expand its merit scholarship program to include Gold Star families. Let's face it, though, this should have been pretty obvious. Tragedy struck Monday as Notre Dame Cathedral caught fire, forcing the mobilization of over 400 firefighters. The blaze engulfed the cathedral's iconic main spire, but the rest of the structure still remains intact, albeit in fragile condition. An early theory is that there was an electrical short circuit in an elevator located within the church. Additionally, it was reported that fire alarms signaled that the fire was in a different part of the church, which allowed the fire to get out of hand before firefighters arrived at the scene. Thus far, 50 investigators have been working towards determining what the actual cause of the fire might have been. There's been widespread speculation ranging from poor maintenance, construction, and even terrorism as to what actually caused the fire. At the moment, no real data has been provided or confirmed, so we at BNN will just sit here and wait until the investigation unfolds. Matt Finney, however, has his own theory.
Thanks, Nick. At the moment, nobody really knows who started the fire in Notre Dame, but Quasimodo has a hunch.
More on this to come. And in our final story, Florida man was absolutely crushed by Wisconsin family this week. A woman, her son, and their dog were arrested in what I can only describe as the most ridiculous thing I've heard this week. 46-year-old Lisa Smith, her 25-year-old son, Benny Van, and their 5-year-old dog, Bo, entered a Walmart. From there, the events unfolded as such. Benny walked Bo into the Walmart unleashed, who then promptly off from his degenerate owner and decided to jump on every single customer in sight. Lisa began tearing apart display racks and stuffing the contents of those racks into her shopping cart. While this occurred, Benny stood in the entrance of the Walmart and just shouted for Bo over and over again. We don't know exactly what this sounded like, but probably something like, "Bo! Bo! Bo!" Lisa was asked by Walmart staff to leave, which she did. Then she started doing karate in the parking lot. While that was happening, Benny decided to strip naked in the clothing department of the store, exposing himself to everyone around him. He then started trying on clothes raw dog with no intention of buying them. The police arrived and engaged with Lisa first, who apparently kicked out the window of a police cruiser before finally being tackled to the ground. Benny ran through the store in an effort to avoid the cops. He hijacked a scooter and attempted to run over the police officers. The police officer was able to stop him, however, because he was a grown man and Benny was on a scooter. 2 down, 1 to go. Finally, Bo made a break for it while holding a bag of cornbread muffin mix in his mouth, but he also got hit by the fuzz. Lisa is facing charges of disorderly conduct, resisting arrest, and misdemeanor bail jumping. Benny is being charged with lewd and lascivious behavior, disorderly conduct, and retail theft. Bo has been denied his favorite chew toy. And with that, I'm Nick Palmisano, and this is the Bad News Network. Our news is at least as bad as the news you're getting already, and there is a giant hailstorm raining down on Durham as we speak.